ask the Honourable Attorney General whether he will have one of the draft bills circulated so that the opinion of the Bar Council as well can be, we can have an input in it.
This was done, this has already been done in fact. It was circulated to the Bar, to the Mauritius Bar Association. But if a fresh circulation, I will look into the question of whether a fresh circulation should be done or not.
In his report, and I quote the report, psychotropic substance are being sold over the counter, especially certain syrup. Can I know from the Honourable, it's mentioned there, page 102, a syrup, and we know, and it says here, if you go around certain centers like Yan Palak in Port Louis, Ethiopia, in Victoria, you can see the empty bottle there. Can I know from the Honourable Minister what action has been taken with regard to that specific syrup, whether now it is being controlled?
I mean, some of this syrup are used by, it's not controlled drugs. It's not controlled drug. But we have reinforced our investigation and our team going around. I know the problem, I'm aware of the problem, that's why we have reorganized this team.
Mr. Mentor have mentioned a list of centers with regard to youth offenders in Mauritius, and only one in Rodrigue. Can I know how are the boys and the girls are treated, the young boys and the girls are treated in Rodrigue, the youth offenders? How are the male and the female treated there?
Well, I've just said in the last paragraph of the answer which I've given, what exists in Rodrigue and what is being done there. Well, anything more, we'll have to consider and see what can be done.
B601, Madam.
Madam Speaker, in line with the curriculum reforms being undertaken under the 9-year continuous basic education, a new umbrella subject, namely technology studies, is being taught. It comprises two main strands, namely design and technology and food and textile studies. Technology studies has been introduced in grade 7 as from 2018, and according to the new national curriculum framework, specialized facilities are required for the teaching of technology studies in grades 8 and 9, but does not necessitate full-fledged workshops, since many of the practical lessons can be carried out in a normal arranged classroom. The teaching of practice-related topics for design and technology requires a design studio for grade 7 and a junior design technology lab for grade 8 and 9. Existing rooms have been converted to provide the basic amenities and facilities to teach both components. With regard to part A of the question, I am informed that all state and grant-aided secondary schools are offering technology studies in grade 7 since 2018. The essential facilities for teaching of design and technology and food and textiles are available in all state and grant-aided private secondary schools. In state secondary schools, provision has been made for additional specialist rooms, that is, girls' schools to be provided with facilities for teaching of design and technology, and boys' schools to be provided with such facilities for teaching of food and textiles. In the regional state schools, 21 have already been provided with the full facilities. A sum of 39 million rupees has been earmarked in the budget of this financial year for the construction of specialist rooms in the remaining schools. In many grant-aided private secondary schools, workshops and labs for design and tech and home economics already existed prior to 2018. Such schools are not required to set up new facilities. Schools have been notified of the requirement for the teaching of technology studies worked out by MIA since 2017. I am advised that as at date, out of 87 grant-aided private secondary schools, 84 already have workshops for the teaching of design and technology, and 85 for the teaching of food and textile studies. One schools due to those last year. In those schools having the studies for these for of technology studies and 8. Madam Speaker, as regards Part B of the question, I am informed that secondary schools have adequately qualified educators for the teaching of technology studies. As for state secondary schools, there are 63 educators in post for food studies and 36 for dress and textiles, and 93 for design and technology. A further cohort of 10 educators is expected to be recruited by the PSC shortly. The private secondary schools are staffed with adequately qualified teachers who are holders of degrees or diplomas for teaching of these subjects at grades 7 to 9. As for Part C of the question, I am informed that all regional private secondary schools are offering the subject.
We are talking about private secondary school and state secondary school. We know that the state secondary school are gender specific. So the boys' school don't have the facilities for design, for food and textile. So can I know from the Honorable Minister how many of the state secondary school are fully equipped? Because as from today, it was from not today, as from Friday, students were told to bring, even educators are asked to bring their own consumable like eggs, flour, baking powder, plywood to school when they have to do this design.
Madam Speaker, I've just answered that 21 of the schools have full-fledged facilities. Now, when we carry out classes for home science, etc., even previously, we do ask students to bring in some of the commodities that they will require.
Of the Honorable Minister, exactly, you mentioned 21 schools. Out of how many? State secondary school.
Madam Speaker, let me go back to the answer that I've just given. In the state secondary schools, 21 have been provided with full facilities, and a sum of 39 million has been earmarked in this budget year for the remaining schools. So 21 out of around 63.
Only 1/3 of the school, 21 out of 63, you said.
Madam Speaker, we are talking here about full-fledged. The other schools all have workshops and arrangements to carry out the classes. I must say that in grades 7 and 8, we don't need full-fledged labs, but workshops have been aménagés for that.
To the extended program for students, how many years will they have to do to complete that 2 subjects?
Madam Speaker, although the question is not related, I will give the answer. The extended program, as the term itself explains, it goes over 4 years. So they will have to complete the curriculum, which is normally in the regular stream completed in 3 years, over 4 years. Next question.